I don't see how we can make bigger enemies.
To be offended or frightened of everything.
So you've become like the sort of Tony Scarface of podcasting.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Welcome
Into the microphone, George.
The morning show. Where was I talking to?
Off to the side.
It's so nice when Pantelis.
How's my
Pantelis.
mic technique? How am I doing?
So nice when Poseidon interrupts. Like imagine one morning the show opens to empty seats and just the sound of you getting punched in the face. We're live.
Well, I
Shit.
mean, if you knew how to speak into a microphone, we wouldn't have that issue.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning into the morning show. We love you. We appreciate you. Head on over to the YouTube page and subscribe. You can find exclusive content over at patreon.com/Pantelis. A bunch of content. Nobody produces as much content as Pantelis does, and we love him for it. Producing the show is our friend Poseidon, the Poseidon69. I am Poseidon.com. You can find my stuff at the Backstage Podcast. And Politiquement Parlant would start again this week after a little summer break. Head on over there, subscribe, like, do it, all the good stuff. And Mr. Ted Bird.
Speaking.
How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. I like the shit out of this theme song.
It's so good.
Yeah, it makes me feel like I'm on a 70s cop show.
Yeah.
We got to come up with a name for the show now, for the 70s cop show that we're pretending that we're on.
Next show, we'll start with fedoras and cigarettes.
There you go.
Dim the lights.
I always thought to myself, it kind of sounds like you're in Jamaica, but like the safe part of Jamaica.
Which part is that? Have you ever been?
No, never.
Yeah, I went to Jamaica.
What the fuck are you commenting?
It's a stupid joke.
I went to Jamaica once, and the only thing I felt unsafe from was fucking guys trying to sell me shit. Because it's not,
Really?
well, now mind you, this is a long time ago. This is 1988. From the time we got off the plane, you want to buy this? Do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy this? The only thing I wanted to buy was a bag of weed. I don't want to buy your little fucking bamboo boat. You know, I don't want to buy your carved Jamaican head. I just want to buy a bag of really good fucking weed. That's all I'm looking for here in Jamaica. And I did buy a bag of weed, but half of it was stock. So I was not. I mean, the powder in the flower top part was quite good, but the rest of it was just all. You know what I mean by stock? Eh? It was all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it good?
Yeah. Well, not the stock. That's shit, right? But but it was a what we said back in the 70s. It was a bad count, man. Like if you didn't get your money's worth, that's a bad count.
Yeah.
That's a bad count. No, man, it's a good count. No, it's not. Anyway, I went to Jamaica once, and that was quite enough for me. There are lots of other islands to see. Favorite island I've been to in the Caribbean, and I haven't been to a lot. I've been to maybe half a dozen of them. St. Martin.
Yeah. My
Yep.
brother's been.
One side is Dutch, one side is French. You can see the whole island in about 20 minutes.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, it's not big. Yeah, you can like drive the perimeter of the.
And
maybe
they
not
let you
20
travel
minutes,
from both sides,
but
even
maybe
though
an
it
hour.
belongs-
Yeah. And on the French side, great restaurants and nude beaches with beautiful women.
That's nice.
Yeah, but also old fat guys walking around with their fucking junk hanging out, you know, carrying their flip flops between their fingers and walking down the beach like they, you know, like there's something. You're not.
Oh wait,
something,
there's
pal.
Poseidon. Hey guys, thank you so much. We got so many messages for last week's show. This new chapter for the morning show. So thank you for the thank you for that.
We
Thank you
did.
for
Eh?
the
Were
love.
they good messages?
Most of them were good,
Oh,
unless.
tell me about the bad ones. Most of them
I haven't
you
seen
say.
any. Yeah, I haven't seen them because I don't know. Unless Pantelis doesn't share them with us.
I get them.
They're all sent to
They're all
Poseidon.
sent to me. And they're mostly, but what the fuck are you still doing there?
But thank you so much, and a huge welcome to everyone in the chat. Feel free to comment. There's no more gulag. Have we banned the gulag?
No.
Oh, you're still doing that? Of
course.
We shouldn't
What's
do
the
that.
gulag?
Yeah, he puts them in.
people have a bad comment,
he puts them in the penalty box.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
eh?
there's a recurring theme. When people step out of line,
I have a feeling that they'll be doing
intervene.
this much less. I mean,
I will, yes.
how are you,
The theme of the
Ted?
show has
Other than that,
changed.
I'm good. I was actually last week. I was just starting to get a cold when we did the show, and this week I'm just getting over it.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
Crappy day. Today was the first day of school for both my daughters.
Oh yeah.
Um,
How do they feel about that? How old are they? First of all,
one is 8.
okay.
She's turning 9 in 2 months, so she's going into grade 3, and the other one is just starting kindergarten. She's 5.
Oh, that's exciting.
She was so excited. She
Yeah,
hasn't
no
slept
doubt.
in days.
Yeah, yeah. And for the 8-year-old, it's nice to go back and see your
She's
friends.
good, yeah. It's
See
nice.
who's going to be in your class, who
Yeah.
your teachers are going to be.
It's just that it's just funny because you know that we live in this social media, and we're not big on it with my wife, but she's like, maybe we should take pictures of them tomorrow since it's gonna be nice. I'm like, it doesn't make a difference. I won't be posting it, you know. So she's like, no, let's take them tomorrow. It's gonna be nicer and stuff. I'm like, okay, whatever. We'll act like that was the first day.
Oh my God.
Because it's nicer, you know. Ah, shit. Let's start this off, guys. I wanted to talk a little bit just so we can start off on a lighter note. Some big names, some big TV personalities left us last week. One local here from Quebec, big, huge sports personality. We're gonna talk about
Kobe Bryant.
and Kobe Bryant. And the other one is Bob Barker. I mean, who didn't grow up watching Bob Barker? What a this guy, and of course we don't know him personally. We don't know, maybe the guy was a horrible human being, but it just felt like this guy had such a long presence on TV, loved by everyone.
Yeah.
Who didn't grow up watching The Price is Right? I mean, what a show.
I actually remember Bob Barker from a show before The Price is Right. He used to
Wow.
host a show called Truth or Consequences.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just a kid when that was on, and then he went to The Price is Right for 1,000 years. And yeah, it's funny you talk about, you know, who knows, maybe he was an asshole. I think at one point, one of those models on The Price is Right filed a harassment charge
really?
against him. Yeah, Diane Parkinson, I think her name was.
Oh, okay.
If I'm not mistaken, she at one point filed a harassment charge, and I don't remember what the upshot of it was, but by the time he passed away last week at the age of 99, he was beloved. Somebody had a great joke on Twitter, and if I live to 99, you know, I don't mind if people make jokes about me, the day or the day after I died. Somebody said, it's amazing that Bob Barker got that close to 100 without going over.
That's the best.
Isn't that a great
It's so
joke?
good.
That's a great line.
It's
That's
the best.
smart. Yeah.
Closest to $1.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So I just wanted to mention, I mean, a huge part of our childhood growing up, The Price is Right. And I mean, the show is still happening. Imagine how popular.
Who hosts it now? Does Drew Carey still
I think it's still
host it
Drew
now?
Carey. Yeah, I think it's still Drew Carey. Which, you know, when you have a guy like Bob Barker, Drew Carey kind of didn't fit in, but he's okay, I guess. I like Drew Carey on Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
I liked it more there than his own show, the Drew Carey show.
Yeah. Well, Bob Barker was more of an old school media personality. You know, Drew Carey was an actor and comedian who became a broadcaster when he took over The Price is Right. Bob Barker was a broadcaster from the get-go.
Yeah.
And he was also one of those guys, when these guys pass away, I always, guys in that age bracket, I always look up their wartime service or their wartime years to see if they served. And he did. He was a U.S. Navy pilot, but he never got into combat. And he said the Japanese surrendered when they found out Bob Barker was coming. Isn't that great?
That's so good.
But it's amazing. I mean, you guys are younger than me, so you probably wouldn't recognize a lot of the names, like actors who I watched on TV shows growing up when I was, in the 60s and 70s. And then they pass away, and you read their obit, and you're like, holy fuck, man, this guy was like in combat, in World War II. Mel Brooks,
Yeah, Mel
who's
Brooks
still
is
alive. And who takes the piss out of the Nazis, right?
Yeah.
Like he's done some really, really funny
stuff. Yeah.
like The Producers, which is about a Broadway play called Springtime for Hitler. And people, some people go, that's not very funny. If Hitler's never funny, you shouldn't joke about Hitler. Mel Brooks is Jewish, and he jokes about Hitler.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was a combat engineer in World War II in the Battle of the Bulge. He's earned his fucking spurs. If he wants to make jokes about Hitler, he's earned it.
Yeah.
Let him go.
Yeah. There was now that you mentioned Mel Brooks, he was once on. I was watching. He was on Conan O'Brien, and he was saying how they honored him by putting his handprints in front of the Chinese theater or whatever.
Grauman's Chinese Theater. Yeah,
in California, and he wanted to do something special. And throughout this whole time, now he's talking, and he's introducing this whole thing, and you're really not noticing anything, right, in particular. And then at some point, he's like, so you look around, you see famous people and their hands and everything. And I was like, I got to do something different. And he's like, so I got a sixth finger. So he put a sixth finger, and he went, and apparently his fingerprints, one hand has six, or both hands, they have six fingers. And he was fucking talking, and it was so hilarious. So it's just small stuff like that. It's like, who thinks of this shit, man? This guy, it was just funny.
Yeah, brilliant comedic mind, and he'll go places that other people might not go. He's I don't know if he produced the film, but he's part of a film called The Last Laugh, and it's a documentary that features predominantly Holocaust survivors and also some modern day Jewish comedians and media personalities talking about exactly what I had just referenced, making fun of Hitler, joking about the Nazis. Is it appropriate? And these Holocaust survivors all said, and Tommy Schnurmacher, remember when Tommy was on our podcast with Terry and me on Standing By? Tommy's parents are both were both Holocaust survivors. They've passed on now. And Tommy said that, his parents told him in the camps, humor was what helped them survive. Can you imagine maintaining your sense of humor and in inhumane conditions like that? And in this movie, they talk about that, and the younger comedians talk about how, they reference that really good comedy and good humor, it goes into those dark places. It explores those dark places. I strongly recommend it. It's called The Last Laugh. There's another movie I think that Chevy Chase is in called The Last Laugh. Not that one. This one's a documentary. And if you just go on and watch I think you can find the trailer really easy on YouTube, The Last Laugh, and you'll see Mel Brooks on that. And it's a fascinating.
I'm gonna check it out. Check it out. The other TV and radio personality here in Quebec that passed away, and I felt so bad, is Yvon Pedneau. I don't know who here watched hockey in French. I certainly did.
I did. I loved Yvon. And Pierre Hood.
Pierre,
the best.
Pierre Yvon. That's who I grew up with, and it's weird because none of my friends watched hockey in French. For some reason, I preferred in French. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the way they describe the games. Obviously, they're very talented, right? They knew their stuff very well. But that's what I could not watch. Even today, I cannot watch a hockey game in English.
I can watch a hockey game in English, but I could never watch Bob Cole.
Okay. Yeah.
I could never watch Bob Cole. Oh, baby. Shut the fuck up, Bob. Honestly. And I know a lot of people in your demographic love Bob Cole because that's who you grew up with. You know, if that's the voice you grew up with, then you identify with that. And if I say Bob Cole sucks, what I'm saying to you is your childhood growing up watching hockey sucks. I don't mean it that way. I mean, as a broadcaster, I think Bob Cole's a bad broadcaster. No, he's inarticulate. He doesn't have anything to say. He's oh baby.
Who's the Canadian that broadcasted the Canadians games in English? This older man.
Dick Irvin.
Dick Irvin.
There was Dick Irvin, and when I was a kid, it was Danny Gallivan and Dick Irvin, and Danny Gallivan was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. He was a wordsmith.
Yeah.
He came up with these great expressions, like Serge Savard used to start up the ice, and then he'd stop and he'd spin around and make a move and pass the puck off, and Danny Gallivan would call it a Savardian spinorama.
A Savardian.
Yeah. Or if somebody made a move at the blue line, he'd say, and there's Mahovlich dipsy-doodling over the line.
That's so funny.
Yeah, he was really good. He was the best, Danny Gallivan, to me. But what I loved about Yvon was he never sugarcoated it.
Oh, he said,
Yvon said exactly what he thought, but he wasn't abusive or anything. He would just say
the truth.
Quel mauvais jeu par Brisebois. But it was a shit play by Brisebois. He didn't say Brisebois is a shit player. He just said he made a shit play.
Pierre and Yvon, these two were like, I could not watch hockey without them. And then ever since I guess the last maybe 10 or 15 years or so, I don't know why I started listening to the games on radio. Again in French, Pierre Maguire on 98.5.
No, not Pierre Maguire. Pierre Maguire is the English guy. It's another Maguire.
His name is
Martin Maguire.
Martin Maguire. Sorry. Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, he's incredible. He's incredible. Like sometimes I'll watch I'll put the game on TV and mute it and have the radio on. Like I'm weird like that. And I don't watch a lot of sports. But back in the day when the Canadians were doing well in the playoffs, it just sounds better in French. I don't know. I mean, the fact that, and a lot of times because, work, we're often in our car, and that's why I got to, I started listening to the games on radio. Like it puts your imagination to work. You try
good
to
radio is theater of the mind.
That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
And it's so exhilarating. Like, dude, I almost got into so many car accidents. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like the way they describe the game, it's as if you're there.
A good broadcaster, a good play-by-play man will paint the picture.
Yeah.
And TV's kind of the opposite. In TV, I think a good broadcaster, a good sports broadcaster, play-by-play guy, he lets the pictures tell the story.
And he compliments.
Yeah, particularly, for example, in a sport like baseball.
Oh, my God. Well, how much is there to describe in baseball?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. But
do you like baseball?
I do, yeah. I used to love baseball. When I was a kid, I lived and died with the Boston Red Sox. And now I'm not, I still love the game, but the sport has kind of lost me.
Yeah. We used to love playing baseball. We used to play baseball all the time, but I could not watch it for the life of me. Yeah. And back in the day, they would give tickets practically for free. We would get like tickets like at $5. We're sitting up
for
in the
nosebleed
Expos section.
Yeah.
And we would go, and my friend was, all these guys I would go, they were all pumped. Oh, yeah, we were watching a game. I was like, Jesus Christ, get me out of here.
Well, you know what? Baseball's like it's an acquired taste like good scotch.
Yeah.
Like the first time it's like, Jesus Christ. But then after the third or fourth one, it's pretty smooth.
Yeah.
Well, baseball is it's like chess. It's there are a lot of games within the game.
Yeah, you need to understand the science behind it.
Yeah, you need to. Yeah, you absolutely do. You need to know the intricacies of the game in order to appreciate it.
But we were there. We were at a point. We were at that perfect age where we got the best season of the Expos. Right, those 2-3 last years,
mid-90s.
Yeah, right before the Expos left.
Like early 2000s.
Yeah, when did they?
They left in 2004.
That's it.
Yeah, I think 2004 was the last
when were
season
they?
there.
When was the strike?
The strike was 94.
94.
Yeah.
Okay, so then.
Yeah, they were the best team in baseball that year.
They're incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like grade 6 in early high school. I was in that period. We got to see that. It was fantastic.
Fuck, you were in grade 6 in 94?
No, I was in 93 I graduated, so 94 I was in high school.
Oh, okay, good. I was going to say,
Yeah.
you're making me feel old. I was like 35.
I was 1 year old.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little baby Poseidon. Fucking 1-year-old weighed about 60 pounds.
Yes.
What do you want to talk about, Ted? You wanted to do a little update on what we spoke about last week. That music sensation that came out of nowhere.
Oliver Anthony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who, last time I looked, his song Richmond, North of Richmond had 40 million views on YouTube. And that was a few days ago. So I don't know what he's at now. I read up on him a little bit this week. Number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Mm-hmm. And I think not the Billboard Hot Country 100, but the Billboard Hot 100. The number 1 song in any genre.
Yeah.
And, number 1 iTunes, Spotify. He's absolutely killing it. And he's also, he's spoken out about how people have attempted to politicize this song. Like the conservatives have sort of embraced it and said, this is our anthem. Mm-hmm. And on the liberal side of the aisle, people are going, oh, he's just this is an anthem for white supremacists and the extreme right. And he's like, hey, I'm not on any side politically. You know, this is my song and I represent everybody.
Well, he kind of came out kind of saying how weird it was that they mentioned him and his song at the Republican debate.
Yeah.
Because if they had really listened to the song and understood it, they would have known that that song was written for all the political class.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even about politics.
Yeah.
It was just a song about the struggles that the working man is facing right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of offers he has entertained in terms of a record deal or representation, but I'm sure that he's got agents beating his door down because, you know, if
I hope he's smart enough not to do anything because there's so many great artists that are succeeding on their own with all the tools that are available right now.
Yeah, exactly. But I would want to have someone who I trust who is savvy about how the music business works.
To kind of to teach him the ropes, kind of to guide him.
Exactly. Yeah, I would if I were him, I would want to have someone like that.
He's getting a lot of attention. I followed Joe Rogan, and he posted like a little clip yesterday on his Instagram, I think, where at his comedy club, he had Tom Segura who introduced. He goes, "Oh, I have him here. Thanks everyone. I have a surprise for you." And he brought out this guy.
Really?
Yeah, he brought it, and apparently he sang. So Joe Rogan had him at his club.
Joe Rogan has a comedy club?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Where?
It's in Austin.
Okay.
It just opened, I think,
Is that
this
where his
year.
show is from? Austin?
Yeah, he's moved to Austin
Where
now.
was he before?
In LA, in California.
Okay. Where was he? Do you know Poseidon where he was when Mike and Pantelis were on with him?
He was in L.A.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he's in Austin now.
Yeah. He left.
He moved out of California at the beginning of COVID when all all hell broke loose
Yeah,
there.
and I'm watching the aftermath of like on Twitter, like just San Francisco. I know LA is roughly in the same state. Dude, it is bad.
Oh, it's a shithole.
Yeah.
Apparently, Which is such a shame because physically it's such a beautiful city, San Francisco.
I've been to
It's
San
just
Francisco and it is beautiful.
spectacular. Yeah.
Beautiful city. I loved it. I love San Francisco.
But when people are defecating on the street, that kind of takes the edge.
Yeah, no, he's been very vocal about it, Joe Rogan. And as soon as he saw that, he got out. He went to Texas, started his business over there, and he opened. He bought this old theater, converted into a comedy club, and it's becoming like a hotspot over there for comedians. It's called the Comedy Mothership, I think it's called, something like that.
Comedy. Yeah, actually, somebody put it in the chat.
So I don't know. Maybe he'll be on Rogan. I don't know. I mean, if he went to his club to perform, I would assume that maybe
like it's
he would have him because he's
it
been
seems
talking
to me
about
like
him.
he's almost overdue to be on. With
Well, I
Joe
first
Rogan.
heard of this kid through Rogan. He had posted it on
is
his
that right? Yeah.
on Twitter, I think, or on Instagram. I can't remember where he tweeted it or posted it, and that's where I first heard of him. Through Joe Rogan, and then I looked into him. But yeah, look, I love these stories. Stories like this, I love. Where
well, especially when it happens to someone who seems like a nice person,
Yeah.
and he seems like a real regular Joe,
Genuine person,
yeah, just real people.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I mean, anybody who stands out in his farmyard and sings a song with 3 dogs laying at his feet, there's no airs about that. That's not posing, that's just a regular guy.
No, absolutely.
You mentioned Tom Segura. He's got a podcast.
Yeah.
What's the woman?
It's his wife.
Is it? Yeah.
What's her name?
I want to find a clip to play sometime from his show because
Christina
yeah. Have you ever seen the clip of Joey Diaz on his show?
Which one?
The one where he's talking about fucking the one-legged woman.
No way.
It's so funny. It's so dirty. He's so dirty, but so funny. I showed it to my ex-wife, and she was in tears. She was laughing so hard at this clip.
It's funny because it
what's
also
the
comes
show?
from. It's called.
If you just Google
Your
Joey,
Mama's House, It's
Joey,
Your Mama's House.
just Google Joey Diaz one-legged woman, the clip will probably
I think the
come up.
podcast he has is Your Mama's House. It's called.
He's very funny.
Joey Diaz?
Joey Diaz?
Tom Segura.
Joey Diaz and Tom Segura.
Yeah.
Joey
they're both
Diaz, by the way, is a national treasure.
Yeah.
I love his stories.
It's the way he describes.
Well,
stuff
listen.
that
Can
are
we play
funny.
that clip if you find it? Can we play it?
I found it actually on
Yeah?
Twitter. Yeah, it's
we'll
the first thing that came up.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we don't have to give content warnings, do we? Because this is
No.
this is one of the dirtiest things I've ever. If this is, I don't know if that's the one though. I don't know if he was wearing that shirt. Is this? Does it say something about fucking a one-legged woman?
Yes.
Okay, well, it must be the one then.
Now's the time to put the helmet in that fucking mouth. So I switched up. I started 2-finger.
You got to go back to the beginning.
I went
It's the
around,
beginning is where it's really good.
Hold on, because I hate it when they cut it in weird
the dirty
places.
dogs. Yeah.
Is it this one?
Just yeah.
Let me see if I can. I'll find it, Poseidon, and send you the link. How's
Click on
that?
that. Maybe.
Oh, this is the whole fucking episode.
Yeah,
No. It's just a 10-minute clip. Hold on. Go back.
Oh,
Yeah. See if that's the
maybe. It probably is.
Yeah, I think this is it.
He can get it up.
And he can ejaculate.
With a girl. No.
Tremendous. That's even better.
He wants to,
Who
though.
wants to come?
He wants to.
I want to drill a hole in their fucking eyes that they can't take it no more. You know what I'm saying? When you're fucking them and their one eyeball is hanging out. And they're like, when are you going to come? Look
at her.
Quick.
Yeah.
I come in a minute. So if I could come in...
Right there with you, brother.
If I could come in 20 minutes and just keep giving you dick going from pussy to asshole to mouth. What the fuck?
He's the best. Welcome to the morning show, everyone.
But that's my fantasy. If I couldn't come for an hour, hitting you in the face, making you suck it, popping it out, hitting you, you're like confused. You know where you're going. So he's never come.
He's
Right
right
here,
there.
he's right there. Talk to him.
That's how it usually goes, by the way.
Yeah, that's it. It's an hour of fucking
But
straight dick.
he can only come if he jerks off. He can't.
Okay, then when you want to come, after the chick is laying there like she got shot in Vegas, you know what I'm saying? Like she's laying there,
Who
the
comes
one
up
leg is
with
hanging,
shit like this?
You know what I'm saying? Her mouth was stretched out, her asshole, it's still open like a dragon's mouth. You know when you fucking the asshole stays open.
Do I?
And then just laying there drinking milk, trying to recoup and shit. You're giving them like Gatorade, then
Yeah.
you just jerk off on the tits and call it a night.
There you go, man. Why are we even trying to solve this
Dude,
problem?
I don't think it's a problem anymore.
It's not a problem.
You don't?
No, yeah.
No.
I don't. Joey's convinced me. I mean, I want to just mangle some.
If you told
Gross.
3 chicks that you couldn't come, that you could give them each dick for an hour, you could get all 3 of them to show up at once and just keep going like Don Henley
In front of his wife.
There's
a couple of parts in it. She goes, Joey.
She wrote Don.
Anyway, that's pretty much the best of it.
Don Henley.
That's
Joey Diaz is my spirit animal.
he is, eh?
He is.
Well, I knew you'd like that. That's straight up your alley.
Yeah. He's
It's just raw, and you know when
Oh, God.
I don't know if it's the way he describes his experiences, but first of all, it's like who the fuck has these types of experiences to
yeah.
begin with, and secondly, how do you describe them with such humor?
He's a great storyteller. He's a
that's what it
great
is.
storyteller. Yeah.
He just has infinite
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, and that's dirty and filthy and all the rest of it. And Mom, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but that's fucking funny.
yeah, it's hilarious.
Oy.
Speaking of YouTube personalities, you want to talk a little bit about Jordan Peterson?
Sure, yeah.
Jordan Peterson, a renowned Canadian psychiatrist, right?
Psychologist, clinical psychologist.
He's a clinical psychologist.
Yeah.
In my opinion, one of the most eloquent, well-spoken academics we have here in Canada, who's going through this ridiculous censorship.
Well, he's a court has upheld a ruling from the. I'm not sure what the official name of the organization
Yeah,
is.
it's the
but
Order of Psychologists, the Ontario Order. It's his
yeah,
professional order.
the governing body of
Yeah.
of professional psychologists. Pardon me, in Ontario, and they ruled that he needs to undergo remedial social media training because they think that his tweets crossed the line. Some of his tweets crossed the line. And I think the way it worked was he appealed it and it went to court, and the judge said the judge ruled against him and in favor of
The order, yeah.
of the order. So obviously he was not pleased with the ruling, and he says that he's going to make the whole thing public. He says if he has to go through this process. And can you imagine remedial training for Jordan Peterson? I mean,
This
the
is
guy-
why I said
yeah.
he is one of the most eloquent
Yeah.
people that I've seen.
It's demeaning.
And he's also he has this respect. Like he's a respected, and he has this reputation in broadcasting as well. He's been all over the world.
Yeah. Well, he's a best-selling author.
No,
He's,
but yeah.
he's got his own podcast that I don't know what his podcast numbers are, but I know he's got 7.4 million subscribers on his YouTube channel.
Well, now he's working also with Ben Shapiro at the Daily Wire.
Well, that's why
So I think I don't know exactly what the agreement was. but yeah.
6.4 million Twitter followers. So he doesn't even need to practice clinical psychology. He's got fuck you money, and that's why you and I had this conversation before we went on today. You know, why would you even bother if you don't have to? But he's passionate about what he does. I will say this though, I have been admonished by my employer for my tweets, and I've been told, watch your step on social media. And I think to myself, well, you know what? That's fair enough, because when I'm on social media, you know, my profile, Ted Bird, morning show host, Light 1067. So when I'm on social media, I'm to some extent representing the radio station, or, you know, my activity reflects on the radio station. So as a officially licensed clinical psychologist, his activity, it could be argued, reflects on the order of psychologists. So I understand it from that perspective. And that's why, again, I would say if I was him, I'd just go, well, you know what? Fuck you. I'll just write my books. I'll do my podcast. I'll do my YouTube and continue to make my millions and millions of dollars. I don't have to be a clinical psychologist.
It's obviously, go ahead.
Well, but it's a point of professional pride with him.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So he says he's going to go through the process, but he's going to make the whole thing public, and he's going to air as much dirty laundry.
And thank God
as he
he's
can.
doing that, because I am dying to see what kind of training they're going to recommend.
Yeah.
Well, I get him, because imagine committing your entire life to a specific thing and you're passionate about it, and then the people that were supposed to have your back and all of this.
Well, look, the way it works with orders, with professional orders, and his daughter was very smart in pointing it out, because in the last episode on his YouTube channel, he's with his daughter. And it's the link that you sent us, by the way.
It is, yeah. That was his podcast. I guess he just
podcast.
puts it on YouTube at the same time, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And she points out, an article in I don't know, whatever contract it is, or, as part of the agreement that he has with the order. And it says that although under, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, where, you have your freedom of speech and all these other rights and freedoms, the order can sometimes impose certain things that revoke these freedoms. So it's kind of contradicting, and I think that's where the problem lies with him, because everything that he said, first of all, factually they're not wrong, and secondly, the things that aren't based on fact or whatever, it's an opinion. So why would he not be able to share his opinion to the millions of followers that he has? Most of those opinions, sadly for the government, are in protest of Justin Trudeau, his former chief of staff, or one of his top advisors. And then everything else that he spoke about is stuff that he's either researched or that he has a clinical opinion about, right? So I don't understand why they've singled him out.
Well, I think it's political.
It's 100% political.
Yeah, because he's very he's anti-woke, right? He's that's how he first came to prominence.
Yeah.
Was arguing against the use of pronouns, compelled speech.
Yeah.
He was strongly against that, and he went public with that, and that was the beginning of his rise to fame. But I go back to what I was saying about being admonished by the radio station. Like, I guess that there's a line somewhere. Like I told Luba. You know who Luba is?
No.
She's a Canadian singer. She's from Montreal, actually, and she came after me on Facebook for something I said, and I told her to take the stick out of her ass, and she complained to the radio station.
Right.
Yeah, and I got
way.
Yeah. And I got a note from head office telling me to watch my step.
Right.
Like, there's a note in my file.
Wow.
About the time Ted Bird told Luba to take the stick out of her ass.
I get that. I mean, look, I worked in politics for a long time, and we're under so much scrutiny. I was never this active on social media anywhere. I mean, the only things I would post were anything related to politics, or a partisan line, or anything the party was doing, or whatever my boss was involved in, events that we were organizing, motions that were tabled in the House. Like, it was very much centered around my job. I was afraid. Nobody ever told me anything, and I never took that step to come out of that kind of bubble, right? In terms of my social media activity. I always thought that I don't want to put anyone in trouble because of stuff that I think and that I want to put out there.
But this is
Yeah.
completely
So I kind of held
insane.
myself back. I get it. But he is his own boss. He has his own practice. Well, he's a professor. He's a university professor, so technically, he does have a boss. But I
Does
mean,
he still work at U of T?
yeah,
He does, eh?
yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know how if he's permanently there or whatever, but he's still there. So yeah, I mean, maybe the line is fine. I mean, to what extent can you just say whatever you want when you're representing these
Well, I'm
institutions?
trying to think of what are some of the things he said that I know. One thing was somebody was complaining about. Somebody was saying something on Twitter about the world is too populated. There are too many people on the planet, and he responded to them, "Feel free to leave." So
That's
he was.
an adequate response.
I know, but it was. Oh, he's counseling suicide.
No, it's not.
Well, but I mean that's the argument.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No, he's not. He's just saying change planets.
But like what happened? What happened with you? Like with the radio? I think unless you're advocating Ted online to either directly like kill certain people or you're not out here murdering and raping, I think they have no business, in my opinion, interfering with some argument that you had with another person online. I think it has nothing to do with your job.
Well, tell them.
Like, no, like
Because I'm on thin ice, mister.
no, because it's
I'm one fuck off away from being out of work.
Look, I understand. Like, if you look at it from the perspective, you know, put yourself in the position of your bosses, for example,
Yeah.
or you know the dean of the university where he's teaching, and you're right. I mean, you have these big names, these big personalities that represent what you're in charge of, right? As a radio owner or as the dean of the university, and they're out saying all these things. Yeah, you kind of want them to be careful. It's going to reflect badly on you. But I think his argument, and because he's taken this kind of path, is that we have rights.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm well within my rights. If you don't like what I'm saying, then yeah, there's a problem somewhere. But there's nothing that you can say that can convince me that what I'm doing is wrong. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that hate him, that don't agree with him. But that's not to say that he's not allowed to share his opinion on these things,
Well, they're
right?
trying to shut him down, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're trying to shut him down, and I'm sure that the Order of Psychologists is probably captured by woke ideology, as so many professional orders are now, and corporations and governments. I mean, it's I find it's rampant, and the irony is, I believe that the vast majority of people are not woke, but the ones who are in positions of prominence. They're in politics, and they're in media, and they're in entertainment, and so their opinions are amplified way beyond the proportion of,
I don't
what they represent.
I don't think that it's them that are in these positions. I think that the people in these positions want to please.
Are kowtowing to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the problematic thing in this situation is that they are a minute portion of the population that they're trying to please.
Yeah.
But because they are the most vocal, and because they're we're going back to what we were saying last week about populism, it feels like that's their target audience. It sucks. And also, based on what he said on his episode, it's not that big of a deal, because he says that, okay, even if they revoke my license, my practicing license, the next day I can get a license from other jurisdictions easily. Mm-hmm. Did he mean across Canada, maybe in other provinces? I don't know. Or maybe in the U.S. If it's recognized, if his license is recognized, I don't know. So for him to practice as a clinical psychologist is not the issue. And he knows it. He even said it. He goes, I don't care. Revoke it. There's other jurisdictions that are immediately prepared to give me the license. So there's no issue. For him, it's going back to what you said. It's about his personal pride and ego that is affected because he feels like that he's being attacked. Yeah, I personally think it's wrong, and I'm not always I don't always agree with what he says either. Even though, I mean, it seems like it's factual. I don't even have a shred of the knowledge that this man has, and I'm not going to go study everything he says so I can disprove him or whatever. It's just sometimes the things he says, I found myself in the past maybe not agreeing with it, but still, I don't have an issue with him voicing his opinion and his concerns and whatever he wants.
Yeah, I can't think of a single instance where I've ever seen anyone get the better of him in a debate.
No, yeah, me neither.
A number of reporters have tried to, to back him into a corner, and he just makes mincemeat out of them.
Yeah.
There's a famous one where he was on a British talk show with a woman, and I can't remember.
I think I've seen this one.
Kathy Newton, I think, might have been her name, and he just absolutely destroyed her. Like it was no contest.
The lady in the UK.
Jordan Peterson won. Kathy Newton no score.
Yeah.
Kathy Newton knew.
Is that the one where they were talking about pay equity?
Yeah.
Oh, I love those clips.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest clips.
Yeah.
But you know why they're in the wrong? I just maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think with the social media things with Jordan Peterson is because you actually have to go and seek him, right? So even if he gives you, let's say he gives information that could potentially be wrong on Twitter, right? Or he says something like that, like go fuck yourself or whatever. You don't actually have to listen or take what he says into consideration. So it's social media. You can, we all have our own feed.
Yeah, if you don't like him, just don't listen to him.
Exactly. It's not like he was practicing and you kind of hired him like as a personal like psychologist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, and that's why I think it's out of line.
And sorry to interrupt, but that's the other thing that he said on his podcast. He, aside from the stuff that he posted on social media that his order reprimanded him on, he mentioned that there were also complaints from some people claiming to be his patients, which were not his patients, nor had they had anything to do with any of his patients. So where did these people come from? Why did they claim that they were his patients or whatever?
Well, it's a gotcha thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't want to see a young black man succeed.
That's right. Jordan Peterson, young black man from the hood.
Hey guys, let me remind you, like, share this content. Let's get these
these
algorithms going.
I want to play the Jordan Peterson. I
yeah.
was telling you about the guy, the comedian who did the imitation of Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. Let's go on that.
This came across my my Twitter feed last week, or X feed as it is now, and this is a comedian named Russell Cooper, and he nails his Jordan Peterson imitation parody. He nails it. Not only the voice and the speech patterns, but the mentality,
I love
the
shit
thought
like this.
process. He absolutely nails it. Listen to this guy, Russell Cooper, doing Jordan Peterson.
He forgets his password.
Yeah, forgets his password to get on his
Just want to see
computer.
that people can see it. There you go, perfect.
Forgotten password. Let's try that. Security question. What was the name of your first pet? Well, I'm not sure I understand the question. That begs the question, what do you mean by name? And what do you mean by pet? A pet is simply something you own, over which you have dominion, By that definition, your body is a pet to your mind. It bends to its will. When you're born with your body and nothing else, and that's bloody hard. How you deal with that? If you follow that,
The music.
conclusion, then my first pet must be my body. Let's try that. My body. Damn it!
Isn't that perfect? Isn't that just perfect?
It just goes off.
But he's got the mentality down pat, eh? That's really that's very creative and funny. That's smart, funny.
I love these things, man. There are so many people that are that can imitate.
Yeah.
And there are more and more. It's what we said, right? With all these means that are available, all these social media tools, you get to see all these talented people. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I just love that. Russell Cooper is his name, and like I say, I follow him. After I saw that, I started to follow him on Twitter, but I haven't figured out yet if he's Canadian, American, where he's from. He's only got a few hundred followers, so he's not a big star or anything. But that's just so perfect. That's so good, so good.
Do you guys want some good news?
Oh shit!
In Nigeria, more than 60 people detained at a gay wedding. Excellent news. Great news.
Why would there be a gay wedding?
I don't know. It was
In Nigeria. That's
I thought, look, it was funny in my head, and I just realized.
No, but I
it
mean, you're
falls-
pushing your luck, dude. If you're gay and you're throwing a wedding in Nigeria,
Yeah, that's not a good plan. They didn't think that one all the way through.
let's talk. We were talking about sports earlier.
Yeah.
You wanted to mention Logan Mailloux. Tell us a little bit what's happening with this guy.
Montreal Canadiens prospect who, when he was 17 years old, was playing in Sweden, and he was arrested and charged and fined for taking intimate pictures of a sex partner without her knowledge, and then he distributed them to his teammates. It was like, hey, guys, look at this. And she found out about it, and he was charged, and he was convicted. I don't know what exactly the charge was. And a couple of years later, the Canadiens drafted him in the first round.
Yeah, I remember it was a controversy.
Oh, people went nuts. People went nuts. The Canadiens have drafted a convicted sex offender. And so there was a big controversy at the time, and then it kind of died down, and he's now 20 years old, and the NHL ruled last week that he is eligible to play in the National Hockey League when the Canadiens decide that he's ready. And he'll probably, people who know more about the Habs and follow it closer than me say he probably is going to start the season in Laval. Yeah. He was one of the top defensemen in the Ontario Hockey League last year. I think he had 26 points in 24 playoff games for the London Knights. I believe they went to the Memorial Cup. Anyway, hell of a hockey player and a great defense prospect for the Canadiens. And it seems to me like, with the exception of a handful of the usual suspects who need something to complain about and something to be woke about, it seems most people have decided to move on and gone, and they're saying, okay, the kid made a mistake, and let's give him a second chance. You know, he went through, he acknowledged his mistake. He's gone through some rehabilitation and counseling. Like, he's done what he's been told to do in terms of trying to put this thing behind him. And you know what he did was wrong, and maybe youthful indiscretion is too light a way to put it. But also, he's not Charlie Manson or Dr. Mengele. You know, it's not Nuremberg.
Yeah.
You know, the kid has done his best to make amends and to atone for his mistake. And if he keeps his nose clean and stays on the straight and narrow, he looks like he's going to be a good hockey player for the Canadiens for a lot of years.
I read somewhere, or I may have heard it, that once your name gets into the draft, it can't be removed, which they seem to suggest. I can't remember who it was that were. I think it was on the French radio. I think it was Martin Maguire actually that was talking about it, and he was saying that the way the rules work, and I wouldn't know this. I mean, I'm not a big sports guy, but once your name is in the draft, it can't be removed.
I think he actually asked for his. I think he asked to be recused, if that's the right word.
But there was no way that they could do that. I wonder if that's why the Canadiens were sort of forced to take him. But then again, if your name is in the draft, it doesn't mean that you have to choose him.
No. I think
the argument was, why would the Habs choose this player among all the options that were available to them during the draft?
I think because they thought he was the best available player at the time, and so they took a calculated risk, and they probably knew there was going to be a shitstorm of sorts. But I mean, even the Prime Minister came out and said, you know, the Canadiens have shown bad judgment here. How about you shut your fucking mouth and run the country? And we'll let the Montreal Canadiens brain trust run the hockey team. How about that?
Jeez. You know, when politicians get involved outside their schoolyard.
Yeah. Especially when there's that vacuous, you know? What does he know about hockey? What does he know about anything, really?
Maybe he does. But why don't you concentrate on highlighting the good stuff? Like Premier Legault. I'm not here supporting Premier Legault, but he tweets a lot about hockey, but he tweets the good stuff. Yay, great victory, good job, guys. We're here to support, like, positive stuff.
Yeah, it's a virtue signal, is what it is. It's a virtue signal looking to get his ass kissed.
Speaking of our lovely Prime Minister, I don't know if you saw the polls that have been coming out in the last couple of days in the federal elections, but Justin Trudeau isn't doing so well in the polls for the first time since 2015.
Justin himself or the Liberal Party or both?
Justin himself as the choice for prime minister, he's, I think, neck and neck with Pierre Poilievre. But as a government, as the Liberal government, they are completely flopping. In the latest polls, they had the Liberals, I think, close to, what was it? 13, 14 points behind the Conservatives. It's the first time since 2015 that the Conservatives have such a commanding lead to the Liberals. And this is, and I saw like more detailed polls in all provinces. The Conservatives are ahead in every single province except for Quebec. In Quebec, the Liberals are neck and neck with the Bloc Québécois, which if I were Pierre Poilievre, I wouldn't even care. I mean, if they split each other's vote in Quebec, it's not a problem as long as it's not entirely going to the Liberals. They are in a majority territory right now, Pierre Poilievre. So I'm not so sure what Justin Trudeau is thinking. There's a lot of suggestions, and I don't know how feasible this is or if it's even going to happen, but I've been hearing some murmurs about him actually resigning and stepping down, taking advantage of the recent developments in his personal life.
Right. You mean using that as a pretext to resign?
Yeah.
I want to focus
the
on my
classic
family.
the classic line in politics is, I'm resigning, I want to focus more on my family. It's a standard line. It's been used time and time again. And if there were any time for Justin Trudeau to step down, because of the circumstances around what's happening in his life, it would probably be the best moment to do so. I'm not so sure he's going to do that, though. Because I know a lot of people that worked in his cabinet. I know for a fact that he was ready to step down after the last election. After that, well, I mean, they won.
They got the minority?
Yeah, they won the election, but it was a minority.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a slap in the Liberals' face because they called an early election. They thought they were going to take advantage of the whole COVID situation and springboard off that because they demonstrated quote-unquote leadership in handling the situation. It backfired because they got essentially the same results. The people sent them back in Ottawa, essentially the same pretty much outcome. And I had heard that was probably going to be the last run from credible people that worked in his cabinet. But then after that, there was a leadership race with the Conservative Party. And when Pierre Poilievre won that leadership thing, apparently it became this personal thing between him and Poilievre.
Yeah.
And I think from that point on, he decided, fuck this shit, I'm going to take this guy. For people that
It's
are
not
watching,
looking that way, though, is it?
yeah, but again, look, he has the advantage because as the prime minister, he can decide to call the elections whenever he wants.
Yeah.
So if they're doing bad in the polls right now, I mean, we're analyzing this, objectively, and we're thinking, shit, it's over, he's done. But nothing is really done. I mean, he decides when to call elections, and if he thinks that the moment isn't right, he's just going to hold on.
But you've been in the political game for a long time. Things run their course, do they not? I mean, this is their third term, right? They've been in power since 2015.
In 2015.
He's been in power since 2015.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Is politics not cyclical, and are they not at the point where, okay, it's enough with the Liberals?
Yeah.
I mean, the electorate at one point goes, okay, that's enough of them.
Yeah.
Let's do these guys again.
See, the whether it's unfortunate or not, what we're used to seeing in Canada is, you're not really voting in favor of someone, but more often than not, you're voting against someone else, right? So there is this thing about the population being tired of the status quo. So there is that after what is it now, 8 years of the Liberals in power. But it is Justin Trudeau. He's not just anyone.
Yeah. Well, that was my next question. If he resigns, who are the front runners if he resigns?
Well, there's a lot of people that for sure there's going to be people that are going to run. There's going to be a really pretty well organized leadership race. I don't know. I mean, we're not here suggesting that Justin Trudeau is the best or that he's competent in any way, shape, or form.
No, but with his profile and his name,
he boosted the party.
Yeah.
He brought the party. I don't know if anyone remembers before him
100%,
with Stéphane Dion and Michael Ignatieff. The party
yeah.
was horrible, especially in Quebec. They had 8 seats in Quebec. It was never before seen, right?
Yeah, whether you agree with his politics or not, and for the most part,
marketing
I don't.
marketing wise,
he's a force to be reckoned with, without question.
He is a savior of that party. He brought it back from the ashes. The big problem, and this is what I used to always tell, the volunteers and the supporters of, the Liberals up in the federal level, good luck when this guy resigns, because the next leader is going to necessarily, whether you like it or not, be measured to Justin Trudeau. You're going to have a big problem finding the equivalent.
It's a little bit like when you fire a really popular coach.
Yeah.
You need, or a really popular coach resigns. You need an interim person in there between.
Yeah, kind of like a buffer.
Exactly.
Let's forget
before you bring in the full-time permanent replacement.
Maybe that's what's going to happen.
But who are the candidates? Off the top of my head, I don't follow it that closely. But the first person who comes to mind is Chrystia Freeland, and I don't think she's qualified.
She's horrible. She's horrible. There's his former House leader. I forget. He's elected out of New Brunswick. I forget his name. I don't know them all at the federal level, but there's quite a few competent people. There's a few people behind the scenes, like Mark Carney. Mark Carney, who was at the head of the Bank of Canada, and then he went to London. And the last couple of years, they recruited him at the finance department. So he's the man behind Chrystia Freeland, because she's the finance minister. It's not. Whatever's happening is really not Chrystia Freeland. There's Mark Carney.
Well, Chrystia Freeland wouldn't know shit about finance. She's a quote unquote journalist.
She was a journalist, and
that doesn't qualify you to be the Minister of Finance.
She wasn't qualified to be Foreign Affairs Minister either when she was first elected. When they were first elected to power either. So I'm not my first pick, definitely. But no, there's going to be quite a few people, and from even the western part of Canada. There's going to be people in the race. The point I'm trying to make...
There are Liberals in the western part of Canada?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah?
In BC, in Ontario, for sure, there's going to be a few. But the point I'm trying to make is that, they got to stop measuring things up to Justin Trudeau, because that's never going to happen again. And I don't know how easy it's going to be when he resigns. So going back to the polls, people are, they're sending message, it's done, he's done, it's over, he's going to resign. I'm not so sure he's going to resign. I think he's past that mark where, he would put his party really in trouble if he would step down now.
Yeah.
The real power right now is in the hands of the NDP. They're the ones controlling that agreement that was made that will last until 2025.
They're propping them up as a minority, right?
Well, the NDP has zero. Like they're holding on to this agreement like their life depended on it, because if Justin Trudeau breaks that agreement and they go into election...
What's the agreement exactly? Just their agreement to prop them up in the Commons?
To support each
whatever
other.
they do.
Yeah, exactly. So
that they won't lose a vote of non-confidence.
Exactly. So he just needs enough numbers to get the budget passed and to get certain laws passed. In exchange... to look at certain policies of the NDP and to pass them, which is the best deal the NDP can ever get, because they're never going to make government anyway. And they've gotten the pharmacare, there's the dental care thing that they want to pass now. So for their electors, they're getting their stuff passed because they have this agreement with Justin.
Right.
They can end it at any point in time. I don't think they're going to do it because they know that they're going to get decimated in the next elections. So they're holding that on religiously.
The NDP are going to get decimated?
Oh, for sure. Right? Oh, they're done. Yeah. They're done. Unless magically something happens, but I doubt it.
Where is most of their support?
They have, Quebec, they lost almost everything.
Yeah, they did really well a couple of elections ago, 2 or 3 elections ago. The Orange Wave.
Jack Layton took over.
Was that Jack Layton?
I think he had like 70 seats in Quebec.
Yeah, they did
the Liberals
great.
lost everything. The Bloc lost everything. Now they're down to a handful, I think, in Quebec. They have some in the prairies, some in British Columbia.
Any down east?
No.
Pretty liberal down east these days, I think.
You mean in the
Maritimes?
No, the Maritimes are more and more conservative.
Are they? Yeah.
Yeah.
At the federal level?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I should know that. I'm from there. I guess I'm not paying attention.
Maybe they have one or two. I can't remember exactly.
My uncle was in Mulrooney's caucus.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he represented the, I think the riding was called York-Sunbury at the time.
He was elected?
From Fredericton, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was elected in 1988. He served from 88 to 92.
That was a big, huge call. Mulrooney did a fantastic job.
That was a steamroller in 88.
And back in the day when there were 2 conservative parties, right? To avoid the vote split and to actually win.
Yeah, there was the Conservative Party and the Reform Party.
He was the Progressive Conservatives and the Reform, So going back to the NDP, I think they know they're in dangerous territory, so they're holding on to it. Justin Trudeau knows that, so he knows that at any point in time he can rely on them to last all the way until 2025. So all he has to do is just wait. Let me remind everyone, because I went back to look at, because I remember in 2021 with that federal election, and I remember the polls, and there was a moment where the Conservatives had a commanding lead. And I went back to look, and it was on the 30th or the 31st of August in 2021, where Aaron O'Toole was ahead in the national polls by 12 or 13 points. And everybody thought, that's it, it's over. The Conservatives took Justin Trudeau. And I don't know what the fuck happened. Things turned around, and the Liberals won a minority. So all this to say that polls mean absolutely nothing. I know that it's impressive to see what's happening right now. There's this rebranding that we're seeing with Pierre Poilievre. I don't know if you saw, if you noticed it. He's ditched the glasses.
He's get rid of the glasses.
tie.
He's gone to the gym. He's wearing the tight shirts.
Yeah. And it's working for him, right? He's being a little prick. Like when Justin Trudeau announced the separation a couple days later, there was magically this video that appeared highlighting the great values.
Him and his family.
The family values and how important they are to him.
Funny.
They criticized him, be like, come on, man, that's fucking petty. But you know what? We're in fucking politics, man. It's part of the game.
Yeah, all's fair in love and
You know
war.
what I mean?
Yeah,
We take advantage of a situation and we want the projectors turned towards us, and he took fully advantage of the situation.
I was looking at the provincial poll that you sent as well. The fucking homework this guy sends me, Poseidon, is unbelievable. I thought doing this show, I thought we were going to talk about what's your favorite breakfast cereal. I fucking love Cocoa Puffs, man. I used to eat a whole box watching Saturday morning cartoons. Box and a half if I smoked some reefer. Instead, I'm getting all this homework read up in this political poll. This is not what I was expecting, but I like it.
Yeah, one thing we can say about George is he takes his job seriously.
Yeah, 100%.
I have two questions. I heard something that apparently Pierre Poilievre, he joined the WEF.
No. He's against the WF.
Okay, he's against. What's this thing online I keep seeing that he joined or?
No. His policy, and he's very vocal about it. The WF, for those who are listening, it's the World Economic Forum. Back in the day, the World Economic Forum was...
this has been around, this thing has been around for a long time.
Yeah, but it was always this global forum that brought together the world leaders and leaders of giant organizations and
for exchanges of ideas.
Exactly, and it was this very interesting kind of incubator of economic policies, foreign relations policies, and such. And I don't know what happened in the last maybe 10 to 15 years. It has taken this fucking turn. And you're seeing weird shit, you know?
It's sinister almost.
It's
well, not even almost. It is sinister.
Yeah, it is strange.
It feels like a James Bond villain.
People, well, that fucking Klaus Schwab, he's right out of Bond. That guy. Seriously, how come they always have German accents?
That is suspicious.
We will get them in the cabinets, and then we will take over the world.
That is very suspicious.
Yeah, but it's there. That is. Anyone who thinks that there's a one world government being cooked up, that's where they say it's going on. That's where they say where it's starting. The global. So globalist movement.
It's gotten to a point where
they're not even hiding it.
Well, no, but look, it was always this important venue that brought together all these big leaders. And whenever you have world leaders gathering, you always have these huge organizations that are trying to lobby and to, hey, by the way, this and that. So, you know, so in addition to all the political stuff that is being discussed in these forums, you have all these, you know, on the side, all these other conferences that are related to business, related to health, related to the environment, and all these sort of things. And they invite prominent businessmen or leaders of organizations. It attracts a crowd, and I always thought of it as an interesting exchange of ideas where politicians can kind of look and see what's happening in the world and what prominent experts from all over the world are suggesting. But it's taken a turn for this.
Well, they said cockroach milk is more nutritious.
I don't know what the hell is happening, and it's going back to what you were saying where...
First of all, how are we going to milk those cockroach titties?
Yeah, I don't know.
Gonna need tiny fingers.
Yeah, fucking microscope. No, but it's going back to what you're saying about pleasing the woke, right? And it's reached that level where you have possibly the biggest well, aside from the G, the G7 and G20 and you know the G meetings, it's probably one of the biggest meetings of world leaders. So, and it's reached that. It's I don't even know. I have nothing else to say about it. I mean, it's really weird. I remember it being like this this informative and very interesting kind of meeting. And now, I mean, I don't even pay attention to it anymore.
you know, it's-
so just to go back, Pierre Poilievre is saying that he's against it, that he's going to withdraw from it, and he has no business there.
Yeah, it just seems to me like from a vast distance, because I'm not an expert on it at all, but it seems like it's gone from a meeting that was, as mentioned earlier, an exchange of ideas. Now they meet and there's an agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. How do we move this forward?
They took the ideas and turned it into an ideology.
And what is the relationship between the WEF and the United Nations and Agenda 2030?
I mean, they're all.
Is it all tied in together?
They're not related. I mean, the World Economic Forum has nothing
Yeah,
to
I know
do
they're
with the
separate
UN,
bodies, but they're kind of doing the same. They're heading in the same direction, are they not? They're espousing the same
when
types
you have
of.
all these world leaders assembled in that meeting, it's the exact same leaders that are representing their nations over at the UN.
Yeah.
It's the exact same leaders that are representing their countries in the EU, in NATO. So it's the same. It's the same fucking people everywhere, right? So again, it's very strange. The stuff that has been coming out of the World Economic Forum in the last maybe 10 years is really, really questionable.
And I have one more question. When is the next election?
Which one?
In
Federal?
Federal, yes.
Well, we don't know. I mean, either the Liberals
What was
or
the
the
last one,
NDP.
2021?
The last one was in 2021. Yeah,
So
21. So 4 years.
Squeeze out another 2 years.
He could look if they stay. If the agreement stays, they can go all the way up until 2025.
What's the agreement? Sorry,
It's for the NDP.
because I don't understand politics. That
Yeah,
well.
the NDP and the Liberals came together and they said, "Look, let's agree to support each other. You vote in favor of our budget. We're going to work maybe to squeeze in some of your policies." So it's kind of like this agreement.
Because the
to
Liberals
kind
don't have a majority in the House of Commons.
of, at any point in time, there could be a vote of non-confidence,
Yeah.
and they can go back
Without
to
the NDP's support, the government would fall.
Oh
and
yeah,
there'd be an
absolutely,
election.
exactly. So, but we'll see what happens. Provincially, they just had one last year, 22. So the next one would be in 2026.
I wanted to ask you about the provincial
Quebec
poll.
polls, yeah.
I can't believe. I was so surprised at how low the Liberals
forget
have
it.
gone. Like they're behind. They're behind Quebec Solidaire.
They're in the francophone vote. They're even behind the Conservative Party.
Really, that's crazy. What happened?
They're polling so low that they're in the margin of error. Imagine.
What happened?
What happened is that, I mean, we don't have enough time to discuss what happened, but there's a series of things that have happened. I believe that ever since Jean Charest resigned, ever since he stepped away, there's been this disconnect between the membership and the party. And there hasn't been any leader since Jean Charest that was able to bridge the two together.
Who was his immediate successor?
It was Philippe Couillard.
Okay.
And Philippe Couillard, although he was this cerebral kind of guy, he did fantastic. And if we look at the record, I mean, there hasn't ever been a government, at least in recent history, that has had 4 successful budgets that have been not only balanced, but they have been surplus budgets. It's never happened.
And was Couillard premier at one point? And did he inherit the office?
No.
He won an election?
The Liberals lost in 2012.
Okay.
So that's when Pauline Marois came in. There was a minority government.
Right.
And then I don't know if you guys remember, she wanted to pass the charter, la Charte des Valeurs with Bernard Drainville back in the back in the day.
Yeah, sure.
It flopped completely, and in 2014, we went back to the polls. Philippe Couillard won a majority government. And those 4 years, from 14 to 18, there were record-breaking years for Quebec economically. For the first time ever, Quebec's economy was doing better than Ontario's.
What year, sorry?
14 to 18.
So as recently as 2018, the Liberals were the governing
so
party.
in 2018, the Liberal Couillard lost his election. Quebec, the CAQ
That's when
came
the CAQ
in.
won?
The CAQ came in, and they inherited a government of a budget of they inherited a government with a $7 billion surplus. So fantastic! It was like, imagine taking over and you have all this money available to you. Thank God that was in place, because COVID hit and it gave Premier Legault a huge advantage over any other province to use that money for whatever purposes it was used for. But to go back to your question, I think since that time, since Charest left, we can say whatever we want about Jean Charest. One of his positive things was that he was such a charismatic leader, and he cared so much about the base. Charest could walk in a room, you've never met him, you've never seen him, and you meet him, and when you leave the room, you think that you're best friends, that you've known each other
I met
for
him on
years.
an elevator one time.
And I'm sure it was a fantastic
He was a very
experience.
nice guy.
He has that in him. We
Yeah.
had an event once, and this was in preparation of the 2012 elections. I think it was 2010 or 11, whatever. And there was like this friendly competition within the different ridings, the Liberal ridings, who can sign up more members. In Montreal, in the region, it was regional, obviously. And the prize was that we would get the premier to one of our events, right? So we destroyed it. We killed it. I can't remember how many members we signed up. They gave us Jean Charest. We used to host an annual kind of brunch. It was a very low-cost event just to bring people together. We're talking about 350 people usually we would get around there. Different members from Parc X and Villeray. Charest shows up, and it was fucking madness. Everyone found out there was over 400 people in the room. We were like, if the cops would walk in, they can legally just shut us down. We were illegal. Like the place fit 280. Normally, we were usually above it, but because we knew them, they would let us. This time around, it was over 400 people. It was chaos.
Fire code violation.
So so the guy walks in, and they had me introducing him, right? So I introduced him. It took fucking 40 minutes. 40 minutes. The music was playing. They had the whole jingle and everything going. Yeah. And he took 40 minutes, the guy. I've never seen this before. To go all around the fucking room. High-fiving, selfies here, there. Finally, after 40 minutes, he came and he sat down and we got to the event, Still, today, I meet certain people in the ride and they're like, oh, how's my friend Jean Charest doing? And they still have pictures that they took with the guy.
Yeah.
So that's the impact that this guy had. And there was this cohesion between the politics, the cabinet ministers and the elected officials, because there's usually this separation. You're like, oh, you're a minister and I'm just an elected official.
Right.
You're like, I'm a backbencher.
Yeah.
That never existed with Jean Charest. Everyone felt like they were included.
That speaks well of him as a leader.
Absolutely. That was, I think, his biggest strength. And he took all of that and he managed to bring even the membership included. So that broke apart when Philippe Couillard came into power, despite the fact that as an administrator, Philippe Couillard, I think, was better.
Right.
He came in and he goes, okay, how do we get from point A to point B, right? And who are the best people that I can bring on board to get that done? And that's what he did, and the numbers speak for themselves. However, he was completely disconnected. He wasn't like a social being. That's the problem with Couillard.
Yeah.
He was socially awkward.
Right.
And I have other stories about that. But that's what happened.
Hey, that's the ones we want to hear.
Well, look, we were
an academic sort of thing.
yeah,
eh?
like we were involved. We were part of the Couillard. We were part of the Couillard team. We were part of his team when he was running for leadership.
So when you say you were doing communications for an M&A at the time?
Yeah. I was still working for an M&A, and my boss jumped on board with him to support him in his leadership run.
Okay.
But we didn't just say, okay, we're supporting you. We got involved in his organization team as well to mobilize and to get people to support him in his race, right? So there was one lady that we worked with. Her name is Doris, very well respected in the party. And she was part of his central committee, his organizing committee in his leadership race. He knew her personally. He would see her every week. They would strategize on how to win his leadership race. So we throw a huge fundraiser downtown Montreal. And we brought in all these leaders from different community groups. And we brought Philippe Couillard. Packed now. So the guy comes in. We have a little table at the entrance where people come in. They get registered, whatever. Philippe Couillard walks in and he sees Doris. Again, he's been seeing her almost every fucking week. And he walks in and goes, bonjour madame, Philippe Couillard. She's like, what? She's like, what? Is this a fucking joke? Are there hidden cameras? She's like, what are you talking about,
Checking
man?
the calendar to see if it's April 1st.
So he was socially awkward that way, right? And it was felt immediately. He was very much attached to his close circle, the people that he wanted to get his objectives done together with. So that meant that for the first time that I noticed, there was this thing about people feeling that I'm a backbencher. I don't feel included in the caucus anymore. And it trickled down to the membership. A lot of people blame Dominique Anglade for destroying the party. I don't think it's her fault. I think that she just inherited a party that was already broken and she just couldn't manage to bridge that gap. And once that gap started going, that's the challenge the Liberal Party is having right now.
So it was a lack of unity within the party that caused the drop in popularity to be so precipitous?
And I think that's the biggest challenge that the party is going to have going forward.
Yeah.
And, the more the time passes and the more that there's results like this coming out with a poll, the more people are disengaged and they don't want to get involved. There were more people last campaign sitting on the sidelines actually waiting for the party to crumble and to lose than there were actually helping. There were no volunteers. They struggled to find candidates. It's sad to see. I don't know what's happening right now. There's a committee in place to help kind of restructure the party. I don't know if that's going to go anywhere. But sadly, it's become a regional party, mostly centered in Montreal. They've lost everything else elsewhere. There's no other seats outside of Montreal. There's one in the Outaouais region, in the Pontiac, with André Fortin. I think there's one or two in Laval and one in Brossard, and everything else is in Montreal. And that's it.
Where's Quebec Solidaire's base?
Quebec Solidaire is the exact same thing like the Liberal Party. They're mostly centered in Montreal.
Okay.
They have, I think, a couple seats in the Quebec region, and one out west in Châteauguay, I think, or Sherbrooke. Sorry, Sherbrooke.
Do they have a shot of ever being anything other than an also-ran party? They don't, eh?
No, they don't. They don't.
Even
have,
with Handsome Bob as their leader there? What's his name?
Yeah, Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois.
Yeah.
Very talented kid. Very charismatic.
He's the one. He was one of the student leaders, right?
yeah.
He was the handsome guy. The cameras loved that guy, right?
He lived in Villeray.
Yeah.
The riding that we represented.
Yeah.
Every single fucking day, our office was destroyed. Every day. Every day we had to call a cleaning crew. There was paint on the doors. They would put crazy glue in the locks, whatever. He's a very charismatic leader. He's brought up the party. Good for them. I don't think that the Quebec Solidaire has any chance of growing much farther from where they are now as a regional
socialist,
party.
Eh?
They're the radical left.
Okay, there you go.
They're radical
yeah,
left.
Yeah. What's the other guy? What's her name? Is she still with the party?
Manon Massé.
Manon Massé,
Yeah,
yeah.
she just stepped
Is
down.
she co-leader?
She just stepped down
She
as
did,
co-leader.
eh? So
they're
he's the sole
It's
leader
him,
now.
and there's a missing spot. So they're doing a kind of like a leadership run now to see who's going to become the next co-spokesperson.
Yeah, they're kind of the NDP of
Even
of
more
Quebec,
left,
right?
I'd say.
But I mean, in terms of what their position is and what kind of power
It's
they
Valérie
yield.
Plante.
Like they could be Valérie Plante.
It's Valérie Plante sitting at the National Assembly.
Okay.
Think of it that way.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
But I mean, they could be the party that props up another party in a minority situation, conceivably.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Do they have that much clout? That many seats?
Look, they have 11, or they got 12 now. They got 12 seats. We'll see what's going to happen.
Out of how many? How many seats are there? In the
125.
National Assembly? Okay.
125. So, yeah. I mean, the fact that they have 11 or 12, I think, is quite outstanding. I never thought they'd get there, right? But it goes back to the populism thing, right? People like what they propose because they think it's feasible when in reality it's not. The big surprise is the Parti Québécois and how they've bounced back. And we spoke about that a bit last week with Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon.
Yeah.
There's a by-election right now in a riding called Jean Talon. It's in the greater region. It's in the region of Quebec.
Okay.
And it's very important. It's going to be determining the outcome of quite possibly.
What do they call that? Bellwether? It's a bellwether by-election?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's happening in Jean Talon? It was represented by the CAQ, Joëlle Boutin, and she resigned just 8 or 9 months after the last election. I think she got annoyed or pissed that she wasn't called to cabinet, so she resigned, stepped down. Small parenthesis: they just announced that she's joining TVA LCN. They have a little program called La Joute where they comment different things about politics, and they brought her as a commentator on that show. And one of her first gigs is going to be to comment the by-election where she resigned from. It's so strange. Anyway. So,
well, she'd be an authority, wouldn't she? She'd know a thing or two about the riding.
For sure, but it's just strange, you know. You just went and picked a politician that just resigned in a seat that is up for an election now. So the PQ is doing very well. They have a very charismatic leader. Their numbers they're neck and neck with the CAQ right now. They're in a position to quite possibly win that riding. I'm not so sure if they will. We'll see how it unfolds. But the interesting thing in that riding is that the PQ went and found a candidate, and the CAQ leaked some dirty shit. They're like, oh yeah, this guy, he wanted to be a candidate for the CAQ in the last general election.
Yeah. You sent me that link. That was part of my homework. Jesus Christ, I got to read this too?
Yeah. So they're playing, and this is what I love, right? Because it's getting dirty now. I mean, So they brought that
school season.
So they brought that out to public, and they're like, "Oh, this guy who wanted to run for us, and not only that, he expected us to make him a minister, and because we couldn't promise that, he didn't. He decided not to run with the CAC."
Yeah, but why not? Are you not a free agent like you would be in hockey or something like
You
that?
know,
You
the guy
decide,
has the-
the team that makes you the best offer, you take it.
But
right?
here's what's interesting, because they did that to kind of, trip the PQ a little bit, right? But there's this and this is what I love, the boomerang. It just came and hit them right back in the head. The guy's like, "Oh yeah, that's how you are. No problem." He comes out to some press conference like, "Well, they can say whatever they want. What I can tell you is that in those negotiations, yes, I was interested. I didn't like the fact that they were building the third connection, le troisième lien, the tunnel that they wanted to do.
Okay.
And I was against it. And they told me, Premier Legault's chief of staff, Martin Koskinen, told me that, don't worry too much about that. We already know that it's not going to happen. After the election, we're probably going to be announcing it." So he brought out in the open that before the election, it was a well-known fact that this project wasn't going forward. Meanwhile, the CAC used that project as the pillar of their
As an
campaign.
election promise.
It was their main thing, right, in the region of Quebec. And this is the whole thing now, right? So this is going to be a battle between PQ and CAC in that seat. We're going to see who's going to win. The Liberals have absolutely no chance. I don't think the Quebec Solidaire has a chance. The Conservatives probably have no chance as well. And that's what's happening over there in Jean Talon. It's getting interesting. Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon is doing some interesting things. We mentioned last week the whole report about the referendum in '95. They're still pushing on it. It wouldn't surprise me. And, the session is opening up, I think, this week or next week. They're going to be bringing that up again, and it's getting heated up in Quebec.
So you think whoever wins that by-election, that could possibly suggest a trend for the next?
Yeah, I think it's going to be
general
indicative.
election? Yeah.
Because look, the region of Quebec, after that project failed, there was a lot of dissatisfaction. People were like, "What the fuck, dude?
The tunnel?"
Yeah, we went to the polls based on that promise, and you fucking backed off. What the hell's going on? So this is the first time we're going to get to have a clear picture of what the sense is on the ground,
right?
Specifically to that decision that was made by the government. So we'll see what happens. It's still too early on to speculate. The election is for the 2nd of October, so I'll be following that.
It's interesting. I find Quebecers are more plugged in politically to their local and provincial politics than people in other parts of the country. They like politics. You know,
people often
it's
told
a passion.
People often told me, "Dude, why don't you get involved with Justin?" And I'm like, first of all, the Liberal Party of Quebec has absolutely nothing to do with the Liberal Party of Canada.
Yeah.
Completely different, even in ideology. And I never understood people that were involved federally, because everything you do, everything, your job, your taxes, your school, your garbage, your snow removal, everything has to do with provincial jurisdiction. Everything, you know what I mean? Except for foreign affairs and defense and all that stuff that really doesn't affect you.
Yeah, but your day-to-day life,
it's provincial.
Yeah.
You send your kids to school, you go to the hospitals, you have a job, you're getting taxed, you start a business, whatever. Everything has to do with provincial. So I never understood why people were more interested in federal politics than they were provincially. I mean, if you're going to get engaged, why don't you get engaged in stuff that affects your life directly, right? So, that's why I think people in Quebec are much more conscious about what's happening.
Yeah, I just find Quebecers really plugged in politically.
I think so too.
You know, it's you can have a good political conversation with a lot of Quebecers as opposed to other parts of the country that I've lived in and visited.
I want to talk a little bit very quickly about Bill 96, because the schools are starting, and there's a huge issue with the English CEGEPs, because now Bill 96 is fully in effect. And for the people that don't know, Bill 96 is the law that Legault passed that beefs up the French language bills. So we grew up knowing Bill 101, right? I mean, we went to French school because of that law. And Bill 96 came in to reinforce that law. And in that law, he wanted to tap in a little bit into the college, into the English education system as well. Specifically, there were two things that were problematic, and they're still very controversial, even though the bill passed. One was that he told the English CEGEPs that we're putting a cap on your enrollment, okay, which is ridiculous, okay, because Dawson College or Vanier College right now today, they cannot enroll more students than what the government imposes them. And the reason they do that is because if I, for example, want to go to college and I don't meet whatever requirements there is, or if the seat's already capped, automatically have no other choice but to go to a French college, right?
So
And
that's the point of the.
yeah, that's the exact point. But it doesn't only affect the English students, and we'll talk about that. It affects the French-speaking students as well. The second thing that they did was that they're imposing an English CEGEP's French courses. So in order for you to pass CEGEP and to get admitted into university, you need to pass a French placement exam, which never existed before. So you can either take, I think, 2 or 3 courses of French, beginning French or whatever, or take any class in French. So if you want to take history class in French, whatever, you can do that. So all these things now, they're problematic to the CEGEPs because, one, you need to have teachers now that can teach in French in order to prepare the kids for this exam. Secondly, how do you manage this cap when you have students that are going to start full-time, so they're going to use a position, but then maybe in a couple of weeks they're going to go to part-time, so so it's very difficult for them to gauge this cap, and the penalty is so severe, it's absurd. The first year for the universities, if they pass that cap, they're paying over $7,000 per student. And
As a fine?
yeah, as a fine. And the second year, so as of next year, if they pass the cap, it's over $14,000 per student. So they're fucking nailing these institutions. But the point I'm trying to make here is that the ridiculousness of this bill is that you're from the West Island, right? You probably meet a lot of people that have been grandfathered into the English language system. So imagine now a student that for his entire life goes to elementary school in English, high school in English, and then tries to get admitted into an English-speaking college because that's all he's been instructed, right? And he doesn't make the fucking cut. And he's forced to go to a French college. How the hell do you expect a kid who's been educated from the age of 5 until the age of 17 or 18 in English to excel or to even progress at all in a French CEGEP?
Yeah, that's my son. My son, 22-year-old son, English elementary, English high school. My other two, with my second wife, and I believe my daughter with my first wife. Did she go? No, I think she did English all the way through, but she's perfectly bilingual. But my other two did French elementary.
Yeah.
And so they're
okay.
They're good to go.
But this is a huge problem, especially for these English-speaking students that are probably going to be left wondering, how the fuck am I going to succeed now? Like, what am I doing? They know nothing, like no terms. They don't know anything. You can't just drop them suddenly into a French environment.
But don't you think that in 2023, by now, if you grow up in Quebec, you should be, by the time you get to that age, you should be bilingual?
I think it's completely absurd that in Quebec, we're not bilingual. I think every school should enforce this. The argument that the government is making is that if we adopt a position of bilingualism, English will win no matter what. So we need to force to have strict laws protecting the French language. That's what they're doing. I think this is really excessive. But the other thing is that it's not only problematic for the English-speaking students, it's problematic for the French-speaking students who now live in a more globalized fucking society.
And who want to go to English school.
Or they're thinking, in the future, I'd like to work internationally or across Canada or in the U.S. And they're, by default, because of Bill 101, they've gone to French elementary and French high school. They're thinking, now is the opportunity for me to maybe go explore the English language or to perfect it or whatever. And
because it broadens their horizons.
And they're in trouble now.
Yeah.
So it's not only an issue for the English-speaking students, it's a huge issue for the French-speaking students as well that want to explore that avenue, and now they can't. So I'm not so sure what's going to happen.
So what's the alternative? Status quo? What it was like before?
Well, they're not going to go back to that now.
No, I know that, but I mean, for you, like, what would you do?
You have no choice. If you don't get admitted, you go to a French college, and then you try the next session to register again, to switch. I don't know.
No, but I'm saying from a government standpoint, if that's not the way to go, if you're the government and you decide, okay, this Bill 96 isn't going to work, it's not practical.
Oh, but I think
then what do you do?
No, but I think they think that.
Oh, they think it is. I know, but if you were the government and you thought it and you decided it wasn't, what's the alternative? Just to
go back to what it was.
Okay.
Let the colleges do what they want, and if you want to go to French, go to French. If you want to go to English, go to English. In any case, that's what it was.
I wonder if you could challenge that in court.
It is being challenged. It is being challenged.
Constitutional challenge.
But let's remind everyone that François Legault invoked Article 33, the notwithstanding clause, on the entirety of the bill. So do whatever the fuck you want. He doesn't care. So it's going to be interesting to see how this develops.
I need to go to French CEGEP. I need to. it's an embarrassment. I've been here for 35 years now, and I'm still not bilingual because I live on the West Island. I work in an English milieu. I live in an English milieu.
Yeah.
So now I listen to French radio. That's how I.
It's the best way to do it.
Yeah,
French movies, French TV.
Yeah, I was listening not too long ago, and Buddy came on and was doing the weather, and he said, he said probabilité de maize, and I thought, there's going to be corn. I hope it comes down in niblets and not on the cob. Somebody could get hurt. I think what he said was probabilité de main, and I heard de maize.
Or
Holy
de
fuck, man.
neige.
It's going to rain corn.
Yeah,
We better get home.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
All right, guys. On that note, thank you.
We're
for,
out?
Yeah, tune us up, man. It's 11:30. Thank you. Thank you.
I went fast.
The time passes fast
Good
when you're
times,
having
yeah.
fun, man. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you for tuning in. We're still getting used to this new format. I'm loving it. It's great to have a guy like Ted, which, by the way, you can follow on the radio every single day, or you can go and listen to his hit podcast, Standing By the Terry and Ted podcast, with another legend, Terry DeMonte.
Let me plug the radio station.
Yeah, go ahead.
Light 106.7 FM in Hudson, 106.7 FM, online at light1067.ca, on the iHeartRadio app and on your smart speaker. I do the morning show, 5:30 to 9 a.m., Monday to Friday, with Murray Sheriffs, and we have a ball. And then Terry DeMonte and I do a show every Saturday, 9 to noon, and that's a lot of fun as well.
No doubt.
As I said on the social media today about this show, at least 3 belly laughs guaranteed, or we'll refund double your misery.
There you have it. You can follow Poseidon. I'm Poseidon, the Poseidon69, or I'm Poseidon.com. The Backstage podcast, it's coming back in English very soon, and we start up again, politiquement parlant, for those who understand French. Go and subscribe, help us out. Patreon.com/Pantelis, PantelisComedy.com for all information on Pantelis, tour dates, and all the rest. Thank you all so very much. We will see you all in the next week. Ciao. Bye.
Goodbye, ciao.
See you, boys.